Assalamu alaikum. In this video, we will understand about the lymph node physiology. So, what is the lymph node? First of all, we should need to understand what is the lymph node. Let's begin to understand a lymph node or lymph gland. So, it can be a lymph node or lymph gland is a kidney-shaped organ of the lymphatic system and adaptive immune system. So, what is the lymphatic system? Lymphatic system is the system in which the lymph, the fluid will be moved with the leukocyte. And adaptive immune system mean the immune system which that responds with a specific antigen and linked through lymphatic vessel, and they are major site of lymphocytes that include B cell and T cell. B cell develop in the bone marrow while T cell develop in the thymus but live in the lymph node. Lymph node is important for proper functioning of immune system. Here is the female contain a lymphatic system. Let's understand about the lymphatic system. We are not going to understand the circulation of the lymph, the lymphatic system in the lymphatic system because I have a video about the lymphatic system, but this is the general picture is the cervical lymph node, axillary, thoracic, thymus gland, spleen as are used for the killing or recycling of the old RBC, lymphatic of mammary gland, and this is the pelvic lymph node, and this is the cisternus coeli and the lumbar and inguinal, and the lymphatics of the lower limb. The pathogen is called antigen. This antigen can be a dust, bacteria, chemicals, pollens, virus, nucleotides, even parasite. This all pathogen will trigger the immune system, and due to the response of the inflammation when infect in the cell. In this way, the T lymphocyte and B lymphocyte work for the long-term immune activation due to the production of immunoglobulin. And in this way, the lymphatic system will inhibit continuously exposure of this pathogen as an antigen. This is a lymph node. The lymph node is contain a afferent lymph vessel and efferent lymph vessel. Afferent means the WBC move toward the lymph node, while the efferent means away from the lymph node to move where the infection will occur. This is the lymphocyte in outflowing lymph, and this is the blood vessel entering the hilum. This is known as hilum, remember. This capsule is here, and this capsule inside is the cortex and medulla, and this is the trabecule, and this is the medullary sinus, while this is the cortical sinus, and this is the subcapsular sinus inside. Anyhow, this is a simple diagram to understand basically, and this contain also the macrophage, but in the spleen macrophage, but here is not. And in this way, here is the afferent lymph vessel and efferent lymph vessel. In this way, it is work as a filtration of the pathogen identification. This is the bigger picture of this is known as the lymphocyte, and the reticular fiber are present, and the slow flowing the lymph which that will lead to represent the antigen presenting cell to the T lymphocyte and B lymphocyte. Allergic response, skin and gut, the autoimmune response as well as inflammatory response, which that is response toward the lymph node, and the digestive system, respiratory system, and the circulatory system. Whenever the pathogen will expose in this all system, as well as allergic reaction and on the skin and gut or autoimmune response, which that will lead to produce the massive amount of the antibodies against that reaction, against that inflammation or something. Like this is the allergen. Allergen will detect through antigen presenting cell, the Langerhans on the skin, while the dendritic cell on the gut, also the Langerhans, and same mechanism for the non-infected cell, the autoimmune disorder, to produce the autoantibodies, and this is an inflammatory response due to the infected cell, while the digestive system, which that is due to the Langerhans cell, detect the pathogen like bacteria, respiratory system engulf the bacteria through macrophage, and in this way the antigen presenting cell activate, while the circulatory system will activate the neutrophil, macrophage, and the dendritic cell ultimately go into the lymph node. Anyhow, this when going to the lymph node, the naive T cell will recognize through antigen, through a dendritic cell, through MSC class 1 molecule, through T cell receptor to proliferate and also produce cytokines to recruit more dendritic cell for more identification and more activation of the naive T cell. And in this way, the naive T cell will activate to proliferate into the CD4 T helper and the CD8 cytotoxic T cell. This is the overall activation for for understand the overview, but a lot of T helper 1, T helper 2, T helper 3, a lot of type of cell will produce on the basis of their function. Anyhow, this is the B cell activation through CD4 T lymphocyte and will lead to trigger the B cell through a B cell receptor and will proliferate into the plasma cell and B memory cell. B memory cell produce antibodies against the and humoral response through plasma cell to produce IgE. Whenever the IgE will produce will lead to an anaphylaxis and allergic reaction will occur. In this way, the mast cell will bond with the Fc receptor epsilon 1 with the pollen, and in this way the light chain will bind with the pollen will lead to activate to degranulation to produce histamine, and leukotriene will target to the blood circulatory system and respiratory system will lead to cause asthma, bronchitis, and the vasodilation lead to edema, anaphylactic shock. Anyhow, the antigen bind with the antibodies is humoral response. This is the humoral response. But the what is the cytotoxicity and the cell mediated response? The cell mediated response through cytotoxic CD8 T lymphocyte. The cytotoxic CD8 lymphocyte will bind with the MSC1 class through a specific infected cells lead to cytotoxicity activation. In this way, the cell-mediated response will lead to perforin and grain enzyme will lead to kill this cell. And in this way, the apoptosis will occur normally. And in this way, for example, the cancer cell inhibition by this mechanism. Okay, let's begin to understand the theoretical explanation is here. The lymph node is the secondary lymphoid organ, contain outer cortex and inner medulla. We are just understanding about the lymph node. So the lymph node becomes inflamed or enlarged in various diseases which may range from trivial through throat infections to life-threatening disease progression like cancer, lymphoma, and lymphadenopathy. The viral basically is the this cell, the immune cell, give the lymph node will activate the viral infection response, the fungal bacteria response, allergic response, and inflammation. Anyhow, I hope you make sense about that. What is the lymph node and what is the physiological aspect of the lymph node? Basically, a lot of lymph nodes are present. The defense mechanism for these leukocytes is the antibodies production or direct kill by cytotoxicity or endocytosis through macrophage. But we are just understanding because a spleen involves the macrophage which that will recycle the RBC. The summarization is the lymph node contain lymphocytes, T and P lymphocytes. It is adaptive immune cell kill pathogen and again arrivals to quick and fast response by B memory and T memory cells. In this way, the again exposure of the pathogen will quick resolve and quick clear that pathogenicity. That is why it is known as the adaptive immune system. While the innate is the different, contain macrophage, neutrophil, eosinophil, basophil and other type of monocytes. And thanks for watching. If you like my video, please make sure to subscribe, like and share. See you in the next video. For this time, bye. And you can learn a lot of immunological videos, and you can give the comment for understanding better. If you have any suggestions, you can give me a suggestion. But for this time, bye.